Welcome, everybody, to the Speaking Up with Patrick Schilling podcast, the podcast that aims at expanding your horizon. You already guessed it. My name is Patrick, and I just love having great conversation with amazing people. So, bear with me as I present to you amazing speakers whose ideas may truly change your life. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of the Speaking Up with Patrick Schilling podcast. My humble attempt to spread some ideas that I think are pretty much worth thinking and talking about, and ideally to spark some new initiatives with you that make you reconsider some of your pre-established thinking, that make you think about new ideas, and that make you really want to shape certain aspects that are going to be pretty important in our future. I personally started listening to podcasts in January, and at first I didn't like the concept too much because I thought in the way that this is constructed, it would just be, another element that would sort of worsen the filter bubbles we already live in, be it on social media, be it in our internet communities or whatsoever. And I figured that if you only subscribe to podcasts where people would kind of talk to you about specific opinions that they have for a lot of time, this would just sort of make you go into your own little space more, and that would kind of prevent you from thinking outside of the box more. But then a very good friend of mine actually convinced me that this is not the case, and that there are some pretty amazing podcasts. And ever since then, I've just really fallen in love with it. Everything from The Daily of the New York Times to Stuff You Should Know, or to Tech Stuff, or to the Waking Up podcast with Sam Harris. I think they are very valuable little pieces that you can pretty much listen to whenever you would like. So I figured, why not do something on my own? Why not bring the people on my show that mean a lot to me and that I think have a lot of things to say? So that is exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna do the most human and most beautiful thing on the planet and have a good conversation with amazing speakers that have really something to say. So every episode, we're going to select a topic and we're going to bring on a speaker with some sort of experience in the field, be it professional experience, be it experience through their field of study or through any extracurricular activities, just someone with a great story to tell with a lot of ideas to share. The topics can really range from anything from artificial intelligence to blockchain to news-relevant topics to philosophical topics to religion to biology, everything that is really worth speaking up about. And this is very important to me, this will be a very open podcast. I do not want this to be a platform for me to talk to people about topics that no one cares about. I want this to be a platform where you can insert your ideas and where you can, shoot me a text or an email or whatever and tell me, hey, I know this guy or this girl here that really has some cool things to say, and I will go ahead and I will invite them to the podcast. So some of you may think, why are you going to do a podcast? Like, why don't you do something else? Well, 3 reasons, really. Number 1, as I mentioned earlier, I just love podcasting. I love having conversations. I try to have deep and good conversations with people as often as I can. And sometimes those conversations are pretty cool, which is less sort of my merit and more the merit of the people that I talk with. But I figured, why waste that? Why not make this available to a broader audience? And ideally have them even learn something from it or have them contribute in a simple way. Because number 2, I really want to be the spark that ignites new idea with my audience, with you. If you listen to this and at the end of an episode, you think to yourself, wow, I've never even considered this, or I've never thought about this, or this has really moved me to change certain things about my perception of the world or of specific aspects, then this is kind of the goal that I want to achieve with this. And this will be the greatest thing that could come out of this podcast for me. And number three, I am also, and this is going to get a bit more serious here, I'm also slightly worried about the current state of our media consumption landscape and on our sort of news infrastructure. Many pieces of news that ought to be pure reports, from established media outlets are more or less politicized. They are more opinions that they are pure facts, but the issue is that they're not labeled as such. So whatever goes sort of under the label of news is really something that, whose underlying intention is to be opinionating. And that is not something I think we should support or we should just take. It is our responsibility now to kind of form our own opinion and to see, what we want to believe and what we don't want to believe. And it's more difficult now than ever. So in that process of opinion forming, I figured, why not just have a part of it? Why not be an active part of that and just spread the news? And especially with social media, it has become more difficult than ever to know exactly what to believe. Some of you may have already seen the Obama video, for example, in which a machine learning algorithm created a video of him where it made it appear as if he said an entire sentence that he had never actually, articulated. And that is really something that is slightly concerning to me. So here I am, kind of just starting this up, being part of the landscape that aims at bringing in new ideas to a greater public. But at the end of the day, this is part of a grander scheme that I've decided to follow to make the world a better place. In this instance, by spreading ideas. But it is just really one aspect of many. As many of my listeners may know, personally, I grew up with a physical disability. So I always kind of had, or that's what I at least like to tell myself, a bit of an external viewpoint on things that some people in the past found to be valuable to the way how they lived their daily lives. And over the course of the years, I've experienced both severe social injustice as well as extraordinary commitment aimed at remedying it. And ever since I started my journey that led me from my hometown Tuttlingen via Berlin, the German capital, via the United States, New York, via Silicon Valley to Dublin, Ireland, where I work for Google now, I have met so many fascinating people with fascinating stories and fascinating ideas that I simply want to share those stories. I want to inspire you with them. I want to be the spark that ignites new thoughts with you, ideally. So let us do that. Let us go in there right away. Let us make this our podcast. Let's turn this into our platform where we can be loud, where we can break things, where we can disrupt things, where we can dream about the world we want to live in, not tomorrow, not in 10 or 50 years, but in 100 years, in 200 years. Let this be our platform that provides us with the tool sets to know how we want to shape the future. Let us stand up and let us speak up about the topics that we care about for a better tomorrow that starts today.